Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Gemma and the Goodreads Choice Awards 2023 has officially landed this morning. So, we're going to have a little chat. About it. I'm a bit salty about a few different things. And and we're going to have a look at the categories that I'm interested in. There are quite a few categories that I am definitely not interested in, and what books within those categories I would like to pick up at some point. From the quick brief look that I've had this morning, I read 4 from all categories. Nothing from fiction or historical fiction. Nothing. I mean I haven't read like huge amounts of new releases, but I did read like the majority of the Women's Prize for fiction and a big chunk of the Booker Prize, and I did 2 rounds of the BookTube Prize, and I kind of just feel a little bit like, am I a real reader? But we'll cover that. The Goodreads Choice Awards is an award that runs, I think, from the 14th of November to the 13th of November or something. So for this year, from 2022 to 2023. And it picks books seemingly at random or based on their TikTok popularity. And it picks 20 and then people can vote for them. And the good thing about the Goodreads Choice Awards is that it allows readers, real life, like normal everyday readers, not people who are in publishing, not people who have been specifically chosen to judge the prize, just normal everyday people get to vote for books that they have enjoyed, and I think that's a good thing. That is a good thing. The problem that we have with the Goodreads Choice Awards is that it is just a popularity contest, because the most popular books will get the most votes. The books that have been read the most will get the most votes. So books that were released in November last year will probably get more votes than books released in November this year, because more people have read them. There is no requirement for readers to read the whole long list. In fact, that would be pretty impossible because the timelines are super short. I think there's only about 2 or 3 weeks between this round and the next round, and then there's like a week and it's the final. And there's 20 books in a category, right? So it's, unless you've read a fair few, then you haven't really got much of a chance. But it also allows you to vote for books that you haven't read, so it's just based on what people have heard, what the hype is around a book, that sort of thing. So, you know, there's some problems. I also don't know how the list of 20 are chosen. So, yeah, that's a bit ambiguous. The other thing that has annoyed me this year, just getting almost salty feelings out, is that they have adjusted some of the categories. So in years past, there has been a middle grade category and a graphic novel category. Even before that, there was a picture book category, and I really enjoyed all 3 of those. None of those exist this year. None of them. But there is a new category, and that category is romancy, which I believe is fantasy romance. So horny fairies, basically. So what Goodreads have done that I really disagree with is they've removed a whole category which is a demographic, right? Middle grade, like all middle grade books gone, and instead they've put in a subgenre of fantasy, which is basically fantasy with sex, right? And I get it. I get that this is like really popular at the moment, particularly for sort of people in their teens and 20s. And I probably would have loved it at that age too. But at my sort of more cynical, curmudgeonly age, I'm pretty pissed. Pretty pissed about that. So yes, but let's have a little look at the categories, and then we can talk a bit more. So let's have a little look at the categories. So first up, sorry that I'm looking down here, my computer's here, so this is where I'm seeing what's going on. So fiction. So like I say, there's quite a few that I've never heard of, and some that I have heard of and want to read. So first up is Evil Eye by Etaf Rum. I do want to read that. I have heard of it. Then there's Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which has been hugely hyped. And as we go through, I'll tell you if I change my mind, but I think that will win the category because it's just been everywhere. And R.F. Kuang has the benefit of moving from the fantasy genre into the sort of literary fiction, contemporary fiction space. And so she's got a big following from fantasy, and then all the people from litfic that want to try her to see how good she is. So I think a lot of people have read her because of her change of genre for this book. So yeah, and I've heard broadly positive things about it. So yeah. Then there's Shark Heart, a love story. I haven't heard of it, but I think the cover is stunning. This one I really haven't ever heard of. What is it even called? By Justin Torres. Oh, Blackouts. Blackouts by Justin Torres. Never heard of it. Could be interesting. Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. Again, heard of it, but not really interested in reading it. Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. That has been nominated for the Waterstones Best Book of the Year, and Anne Patchett is a pretty well-known author. It looks like it's also got a Reese Witherspoon's book club sticker on it, so I think that'll do quite well, and that's one that potentially I would like to read. Wellness by Nathan Hill. Never heard of it. The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer. Now I know that Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot read that and really enjoyed it, so it has been on my radar for a while. Alice Hoffman, The Invisible Hours. Alice Hoffman is a pretty famous author. She wrote the Practical Magic books. Practical Magic was obviously then made into a film, so I think most people are aware of her through that, but I haven't seen any reviews for this book. I actually think it's quite a recent release, so yeah, I've never read any Alice Hoffman, but would be up for it, I suppose. The Celebrants by Stephen Rowley. Not heard of it, not seen it before. Based on the cover, I wouldn't read it. It doesn't look like my kind of jam, but happy to be challenged on that. If someone's read it and thinks it's awesome, then let me know. Marmee by Jessica George. I would quite like to read that, mainly because I saw her talking at the Women's Prize Live event and she seemed very lovely. So that has also had a lot of hype. Big Swiss by Jenny Began. I have heard of that, but I can't recall. I think people have read it, but I can't recall any specific comments on it. The Connollys of County Down by Tracy Lang. No, never heard of it. Family Meal by Brian Washington. Okay, so I know Brian Washington. I read his book. Oh no, maybe I'm thinking of a different author. I don't know. I have heard of it, not really interested. The Wishing Game by Meg Schaffer. Looks like it could be quite a nice, sort of light, easy read. I quite like the cover, so maybe one day. Jojo Moyes, Someone Else's Shoes. Yeah, probably won't read that. I have read Jojo Moyes in the past, but the reality is I probably won't ever prioritise that. The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, which I think is the only one on this list that was nominated for the Booker, and maybe will win the Booker, who knows. I haven't read it because it's really long. I might read it at some point. Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson. Potentially would read it. I haven't really seen any reviews on it. Ellen Hildebrand, obviously big author. Never read any of her work. The 5-Star Weekend. I probably wouldn't start with that one. I think I have another book of hers on my Kindle, so I would start with that if I started anywhere. And Eleanor Catton Burnham Wood, which is one that I've heard of, one that I do want to read. I've heard pretty good things, so maybe. So as I said, I've read zero from that category, which is madness. Historical fiction. So I'm not going to go through everything on here, but I'm going to pick out the ones that I would like to read. So The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. I would like to read it. I have his other book, Cutting for Stone, on my shelf, which I would probably read first, to be honest. Banyan Wood by Thao Tai. Yes, would like to read that. Wayward by Amelia Hart. I'm actually starting that tomorrow as a buddy read with Emily from Novelle Novels and Charlie from Charlie Book Reads. So that will be at least one in the historical fiction category that I've read. Northwards by Daniel Mason. This was on my anticipated releases list that I put out earlier this autumn. So definitely want to read that. Sort of about the history of a house and all the things that happen in it. Sounds fabulous. Jasmine Ward, Let's Descend, would definitely like to read that. I really enjoyed Salvage the Bones. Really enjoyed that, so yes. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride, very much want to read that. Saw a pretty positive review on that from Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and I believe it has also won the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year. So yeah, really want to read that. We've got an Isabel Allende, The Wind Knows My Name, would like to read that. I have only read one book by Allende, but really enjoyed it. Lauren Groff's new book, want to read that, The Vaster Wilds. Lisa C's new book, want to read that, Lady Tan's Circle of Women. And then there's Go as a River by Shelley Reid and River Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer. Both of those I would like to read as well. So there's quite a few on the historical fiction that I want to read. I would say the historical fiction list is more up my alley than the fiction list. There's then the mystery and thriller category. I'm not even going to look at it because I don't really read mystery and thriller. Then there's romance. I definitely don't read that, so I'm not going to look at it. Romancy, we've talked about this. Fairy porn, not my jam. So if we skip to adult fantasy, see if there's any on here. So, Bookshops and Bone Dust. At some point I'd like to read, but I still haven't read Legends and Lattes. So, yeah, we've got Atlanta by Jennifer Saint, which is a Greek myth retelling. I would like to read that. I've had a mixed experience with Jennifer Saint. I really liked Ariadne and I really didn't like Electra. So, would be interested in seeing what I think of that one. The Unmaking of June Farrow. I've seen that about. Interested. The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Would like to read that. I've read 2 of the Day of the Bad trilogy. Really love them, both 5 stars. So interested to see her new series. Stone Blind is the only one I've read from this category by Natalie Haynes. There's A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I did read The Priory of the Orange Tree, which is I suppose sort of the sequel to this. This is like a prequel. I've heard pretty mixed things and it's really massive, and I didn't love The Priory of the Orange Tree, so probably won't read that. Test of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, would like to read. Clytemnestra by Constanza Casati. I do own that on my Kindle, would like to read. Interesting that they've got Salman Rushdie in here. Victory City. I would say he has about 0% chance of winning this category. Yeah. And that's probably it from this category. Witch King by Martha Wells is in there, which I was potentially interested in, and then I saw some negative reviews, so no, I'm not interested anymore. Science fiction. So I've read one from here as well. I have read Chain Gang All Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenya. Brilliant book. I did a solo review. I'll leave it linked below. I will be voting for that. They've got The Land of Milk and Honey by C. Pam Zhang. Yeah, I'm surprised to see it in the science fiction category. I guess it does have like dystopian elements to it, but yeah, would like to read. The new Pierce Brown is in here. I've read the other 5 in that series, but I am done with it, so I won't be reading that. The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitase. That's been on my radar for a while. Would like to read that. The In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune I would like to read, but considering how popular Cerulean Sea was, this one hasn't really had any hype, and it's been out since like February or March, so it makes me wonder if it's any good. Translation State by Anne Leckie I'd like to read. They've got the other Martha Wells in here. System Collapse. Again, another series that I think I read 5 of them and I'm done. I don't want to read any more. And Justin Cronin, The Ferryman, which I literally just picked up on audio like yesterday. So I will be reading that at some point. Okay, then we've got horror. Don't really read horror, so I'm not going to go into that. Let's see what else we've got. Young adult fantasy and science fiction, not really interested in that. Young adult fiction, not interested. Debut novels. I do always like this, and it's usually the one I've read the most from. And I think that is still true this year, but I think there's only 2. And there's a lot of overlap with this category and other categories. So the other book I've read in here is The Bandit Queens by Prini Schroff. Brilliant. I've also got a solo review for that, so I'll leave it below. In Memoriam, I really want to read. It's in here. Wayward is in here. Chain Gang All Stars is in here. Chain Gang All Stars is 100% getting my vote because that is one of my best books of the year. So good. It's like Hunger Games for grown-ups. It's brutal. So yeah, would recommend. Non-fiction, I don't think I've read many of these. There are a couple that stand out to me that have been pretty high up my want to read list. One is Cobalt Red, How the Blood of the Congo Powers Our Lives by Siddharth Kara. I think particularly after reading the Poisonwood Bible last year, that topic was really interesting to me, and yeah, I'd like to read that. That's also available on Scribd if anyone's looking for it. The other standout on this list is Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. And this is looking at sort of cancel culture and fandoms and when a fandom goes wrong and things like that. So yeah, that would be interesting. There is also actually here How Far the Light Reaches, A Life in 10 Sea Creatures by Sabrina Imbler, which I think is this book with an American title, because this is new, same author, same subject, right? So yeah, so I would like to read that also, obviously, because I bought it. Memoirs and autobiographies. So I have read one from here. I have read Britney Spears, The Woman in Me, and I do have a review coming out of that later this week. That's going to win. I'm just calling it now. That will win 100% because literally everyone and their dog has picked that book up. And then from Best History and Biography, standouts from this category for me would be The Wager by David Gran. I know that Ellie at Bibbidi Bobbidi Books absolutely raved about this book earlier in the year, so quite keen to get to that. I feel like I've seen The Earth Transformed, An Untold History by Peter Frankopan everywhere, but not really seen anyone review it. But I think it's quite chunky, but that's potentially interesting to me. And there's the Elon Musk autobiography by Walter Isaacson, which is on my non-fiction November TBR, but is unlikely to get read. I'm not going to go into humour, and that's it. So overall, pretty disappointed. I think I'm most disappointed with the fiction category. I feel like there's a lot of good books missing from there, and the fact that there are no middle grade or graphic novel categories. So I'd love to know what your thoughts on the Goodreads Choice Awards. Are you going to read any? Are you going to read like a whole category? I don't think I will this year. None of them are really calling to me. So yeah, pretty disappointed, feeling a bit salty. What can you do? If you made it to the end of the video, give me a salt emoji. And I will catch you very soon with another one. Bye guys.